Widening weaponization web, the growing cluster of people being personally targeted for federal investigations. Yesterday, after celebrating an indictment against James Comey, Trump said Comey's successor, Christopher Wray, has some major explaining to do. In the last 7 days, Trump has also been name-checking Democratic donors while attempting to demonize his political opposition.
The Department of Justice is also investigating networks of radical left maniacs who fund, organize, fuel, and perpetrate political violence. I hear names of some pretty rich people that are radical left people. I'm the president of all the people. But the radical left is causing this. The radical left Democrats are causing this problem. It's about justice, really. It's not revenge. It's about justice. It's also about the fact that you can't let this go on. They are sick, radical left people, and they can't get away with it.
Joining me now, Cobb, former White House counsel during the first Trump administration. He represented the Office of the Presidency during the Robert Mueller investigation, as well as that one, of course, into the Russian election interference. I'm glad you're here because I'm curious your big picture on why Trump publicly pressured his attorney general to go after perceived rivals. I mean, some of these people were simply doing their jobs and is now, teeing up these investigations of Democratic political groups.
Yes, I think it's really not complicated. I mean, this is Trump's narcissism in full blossom. If you've got him acting like a 2-year-old, putting up pictures of all the presidents and having Biden's be the autopen, putting his mugshot up in the White House, just doing silly things, the memes, having Obama arrested in the Oval Office. This is just juvenile vengeance. And if you've offended Trump in the past, you have some vulnerability here. He will target you and he will try to destroy you.
Yeah, I was thinking what you said about the President Biden autopen. That is in that new presidential wall of honor that you have in one of the corridors, and everybody else's face is there except Joe Biden's. There's just an autopen. Okay, so Lindsay Halligan, as you know, was appointed Saturday, sworn in Monday, and then by Thursday secured the indictment that Trump has wanted for at least 5 years. Should we be impressed or troubled by how quickly the system can turn against its citizens?
Oh, I think we should be scared to death. First of all, at 30,000 feet, the fact that a man was indicted who the Justice Department in the ordinary course of traditional processes investigated and concluded there was insufficient evidence to justify a criminal prosecution. But because he was an enemy of the president and because the president ordered his feckless attorney general to prosecute him now, that should scare us all. I mean, and Justice Jackson, when he was attorney general in 1940, made it very plain that targeting individuals as opposed to merely investigating crimes was the distinction between America and third world regimes. There was something that didn't happen here. Griffin Bell made the same point about how inappropriate it would be to prosecute anybody out of favor or for political partisan reasons. So, historically, that's not America. This isn't America as we've known it. This is really authoritarianism, and it should scare everybody.
So, for the many Republicans that are just cheering him on, what main points are they missing?
I think that is such a hard question to answer. I don't know whether they're missing anything, whether the Kool-Aid is just so strong that they can't see the way liberty is eroding in the United States, whether it's First Amendment freedoms or just the general protections that the Constitution guarantees, all citizens. But it is shocking. I mean, you have farmers who just take soybeans alone. They've lost $15 billion in Chinese purchases, but the majority of them supported Trump, and they still do. They expect to be bailed out with, our money, merely because of the, mistaken tariffs that Trump imposed. And so as a result, we get hit twice. We get hit with the tariffs, and then we get hit with the subsidy to the farmers. This is just craziness, and it is sad. I mean, and as you were going on with others about, right now we're in the middle of the invasion of Portland. That's not an accident. They're just the things that are going on here are more than 1 or 2 deviations from the norm. These are really 180 degrees from the norm, and people need to wake up.
Given you were in the Trump administration and the difference between then and now, what do you think it is? Do you think that Donald Trump learned how to harness his power in a way that he was not aware of, or at least had the guardrails in place in the first administration to keep him from doing so?
So I think there are 2 things. One, he was new to government and he relied on others who were more experienced, which was wise. His coterie of sycophants.
For Republicans, the current trajectory raises concern.
Stephen Miller's and Steve Bannon's, all got together and concocted Project 25 and other authoritarian wish lists, and they're executing effectively without sufficient resistance, I think. Secondly, as you highlight, there were guardrails. You had people like General Mattis, Nikki Haley, real public servants, people who were smart, strong, and not afraid to tell the president that he was wrong. You had General Kelly, whose service to the country, I think, is becoming clearer and clearer as we see what's happening now, because he was able to restrain Trump for a couple of years against his worst instincts, and it took a big toll on General Kelly, sadly, but he performed heroically in that role. We don't have anybody in this regime who's doing anything other but what Pam Bondi does. You want me to indict him now? Yes, sir. How fast can I get that done for you? That's not the role of the Department of Justice. The Department of Justice is supposed to be independent.
It's just, when I think about what's to come, what's most scary for you, Ty? I mean, do you envision the fact that Donald Trump is putting troops, federal troops, into different cities? Is part of the reason behind that not only to show power where those are, but to maybe maintain them there beyond whatever the stated goal is, have them be there around election time next year in November and beyond?
Yeah, so I'm not so sure about the midterms, but I think 2028 is something everybody should be very focused on. I think a lot of these things are practice exercises. We've seen federal troops, National Guard, being sent around the country, California, Washington, now Portland, Memphis, with others on the agenda. Chicago, he insists, is coming up. I think, and his comments today or yesterday, basically where he's made it plain that his sole focus right now is on targeting domestic enemies, George Soros, anybody who raises money for the Democrats, Act Blue. Any person who's opposed him in the past. So this is just narcissistic vengeance.
President Donald Trump's widening campaign of retribution has ensnared a growing roster of perceived foes, from former officials to Democratic donors, as he publicly demands federal investigations and prosecutions. In a September 28 speech, Trump accused networks of radical left maniacs funding organized fuel and political violence, naming wealthy contributors and vowing they can't get away with it. The rhetoric escalated days after celebrating an indictment against former FBI Director James Comey, with Trump adding Comey's successor, Christopher Wray, to his list. Wray has some explaining to do. Ty Cobb, Trump's former White House counsel during the Mueller probe and Russia election interference investigation, described the moves as narcissism in full blossom. If you've offended Trump in the past, you have vulnerability here. He will target you and try to destroy you, Cobb said, likening it to juvenile antics like displaying Biden's autopen on a presidential honor wall or meme Obama's arrest in the Oval Office. Cobb warned of authoritarianism. Targeting individuals as opposed to investigating crimes was the distinction between America and Third World regimes, citing Attorney General Robert Jackson's 1940 stance and Griffin Bell's emphasis on avoiding partisan prosecutions. The Comey case exemplifies the peril. Indicted September 26 on thin charges of false statements and Senate obstruction from 2017 testimony, Comey faces a rushed trial before a 5-year statute expires. Prosecutors allege he lied about authorizing leaks, but a 2019 DOJ Inspector General report cleared him, faulting Deputy Director Andrew McCabe for lacking candor. Cobb called the speed, new U.S. Attorney Lindsay Halligan, Trump's ex-defense lawyer with no prosecutorial experience, securing it in days, scary to death. Halligan signed alone after Trump ousted the prior appointee for refusing charges, bypassing career prosecutors' declination memo deeming evidence insufficient. Cobb highlighted Trump's first-term guardrails, experienced advisors like James Mattis, Nikki Haley, and John Kelly, who restrained his worst instincts, often at personal cost. Kelly performed heroically, Cobb said, but now sycophants execute Project 2025's authoritarian wish lists unchecked. Pam Bondi. You want me to indict him now? Yes, sir. How fast? Cobb mocked, underscoring DOJ independence's erosion. Republicans cheering the purges miss the erosion of liberty, Cobb lamented, First Amendment freedoms and constitutional protections for all. Farmers losing $15 billion in Chinese soybean sales to Trump's tariffs still back him, expecting bailouts. We get hit twice, tariffs, then subsidies, he said. The Portland invasion, federal troops deployed, serves as a practice exercise, alongside Chicago threats, targeting domestic enemies like George Soros and Act Blue. Cobb's deepest fear: public apathy. How few Americans appreciate how desperate the times are. We need to step up and say, stop. This is not America. Comparisons to Stalin's Russia, Hitler's Germany, and the Khmer Rouge's Cambodia underscore the stakes. The lights are out on America's shining city on a hill, he warned, urging a return to fighting poverty, fostering inclusiveness, and uniting neighbors. As Trump's vengeance targets critics, Comey for clashing in his first term, Wray for perceived disloyalty, the web expands. Democratic donors face demonization, with Trump insisting it's not revenge. It's justice. Cobb rejected that. This is authoritarianism. People need to wake up. With midterms looming and 2028 on the horizon, the deployments may ensure compliance, but Cobb called for resistance. We love our neighbors. That's not us anymore. The assault on norms, from DOJ politicization to free speech curbs, threatens the Republic's core, demanding vigilance to reclaim democratic ideals.